Hello and welcome everyone. This is the last 13th chapter of this year's economic survey. As you know, we have been summarizing every single chapter of economic survey for you so that you can bring out the most important information for both the prelims and the mains examination point of view. We have done 12 chapters so far. Today is a turn of chapter number 13. The 13th chapter is titled Climate Change and Sustainable Development, Balancing Growth with Sustainability. So the topic itself tells you the focus of this particular chapter is where do we stand in terms of renewable energy, where do we stand in terms of our own commitment towards climate change, towards the environment. As you know, we are one of the few countries that are on track to achieve our own nationally determined contributions that the countries put forward in the Paris climate deal. India, in fact, has made our own commitments even more aggressive by improving or rather increasing our own target for ourselves without any compulsion. We have already promised the world that we will be achieving net zero by 2070, but there are many other subparts to it as well. The chapter says that India is aiming to become a Viksit Bharat, that is a developed country by 2047, and our achievements in this direction would also be dependent on our achievements in the field of environment and climate change. As of now, the economic survey clearly tells us that India's per capita carbon emissions are only one third of the global average. Now, please understand, one third of global average. We are not saying one third of countries such as America or developed countries. Developed countries and their per capita emission is humongous. For us, even at the world average, we are one third of that. And even then, rather than giving excuses, we are committed to increasing our participation in this fight against climate change. Right now, the adaptation expenditure that we have been doing as a government have increased from 3.7 to 5.6% of the GDP between financial year 2016 to 2022. One other notable initiative by the Government of India was the LIFE initiative, which stands for Lifestyle for Environment. This was introduced by the Prime Minister in 2021. As you remember, this was aimed at pushing the people, encouraging the people to make small changes in their lifestyle so that if they can contribute even in a very small manner, even in a minimal manner to environment, they should do that. So making these changes in their lifestyle was a component of the LIFE mission. Now, the chapter first talks about climate change adaptation and mitigation efforts that the Government of India has taken. I have explained to you the difference between adaptation and mitigation earlier as well. Adaptation means now the climate change has happened, what can we do to live with it? And mitigation means what can we do to stop further climate change from happening. Now, the data here is first about India's net zero commitment. As I told you, India has committed to achieve net zero by 2070. This is not forced upon us. This is something that we have committed to ourselves. We have also committed that by 2030, our renewable energy capacity will be 500 gigawatts. Right now it is at 179 gigawatts. This is last year's number, by the way. This year number estimated is to reach 200 gigawatts. There are certain challenges with renewable energy, not just for India but around the world. The biggest challenge is the storage part of it. Solar, wind, these forms of energy are not available 24/7. So if you can make solar energy in the morning, how do you store it so that it can be used in night? The logical answer is battery, but then how can you manufacture so many batteries, because that will also require a lot of money and technology. So that still remains a major cause of concern. What about climate change issues? India right now ranks 7th amongst the most climate vulnerable countries. We have seen major cities in India running out of water or seeing flood like situations. So these are extreme weather events that we have seen, which have cost $90 billion between 2010 and 2024. The government has been trying to fight against it by initiating efforts such as working on climate resilient crop varieties, crop that don't fall prey to these kind of issues, expanding our urban flood control system, ensuring that water management strategies are devised so that even if there is a drought like situation, we are better prepared with our reservoirs. However, fight against climate change, not just in India, around the world, requires a lot of money. So a lot of our success will depend on whether we have enough money to fight against climate change or not. This is where green finance or climate financing comes in. The economic survey says that India requires about $10 trillion for transitioning into a low carbon economy by 2070. That's a humongous amount. Climate change finance right now has been very, very low as compared to what we require. We have $30.4 billion directed towards mitigation in 2021-22. We also have the Green Credit Program, which incentivizes the businesses to adopt sustainable practices. But again, the amount of money that is required is embarrassingly low as compared to where we need it to be. This is the actual figures as per the economic survey. Estimated need by 2070 is $10 trillion. Where we are right now, 2020-21 was about $30.4 billion. In this year, we are estimating that by the time the year ends, that is the financial year, by the time it ends, we would have raised $20 billion through green bonds. So again, very low figure. We need to do much better in terms of financing for climate change activities. Green bonds have grown, but again, the money that is required is too much to be handled just by green bonds. India's green bond market reached $20 billion in FY25. It is one of the most emerging markets in green finance around the entire world. The RBI also introduced a new concept called green deposit for banks, which has encouraged investments from those people who want to play a part and invest money into green financing. This is how our renewable energy capacity has improved. As I said, 179 was the number of last year. This year, by the time financial year ends, we are expecting that we would reach 200 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity. The aim is to reach 500 by 2030. So we don't have a lot of time left, but the government is optimistic enough and says that we should be able to achieve that. This is how the green bond market has grown. It is again improving year on year, but the rate of growth is not at a level as we would have hoped for. Then the life movement, that is lifestyle for environment movement, that the government and the Prime Minister specifically have been pretty optimistic about. This is an initiative by our Prime Minister. Again, the objective is to push people towards making small changes in their day-to-day life, like reducing waste, reducing food, being more efficient for energy, using public transport, etc. As per this initiative, 80% of Indian villages and urban areas will adopt sustainable practices by 2028. By 2030, these measures can save consumers $440 billion globally. So this is not an India number, this is a global number. Also, as per this report, the economic survey says if we finish all the food on our plate, means if we avoid food waste, every single person can reduce 90 kg of food waste in a year. 90 kg food waste. So basically, if you do a rough calculation, they are saying that every single day, a person wastes usually what? Let's say, again I'm doing a rough calculation, every single day the person basically wastes about 2 to 250 grams of food. That's what they are saying. Carpooling can also save 380 million liters of fuel in the country annually. But again, see, it's a nice concept on paper, but you have to actually make policies about it. For example, there are many carpooling companies that are operational in bigger cities and they have been shut down because India does not recognize that as a law. There were protests from cab drivers saying that, oh, our livelihood will go to waste, our livelihood will be compromised if you allow carpooling. So the government has to make sure that policies are also made in this direction. Then the chapter number 13 also talks about sustainable urbanization. We know there is an increasing growth in the population in urban areas. Migration from rural to urban areas is still very prominent. For that, the government has launched multiple programs. For example, there is a National Clean Air Program launched in 2019. The objective is to reduce PM 2.5, PM10 level by 40% by 2028 and expanding green spaces in the urban areas. Also, a lot of focus has been put on recycling. The government says that by 2030, we could save 11% of our GDP by being recycling and resource efficient. For example, the LEDs that you have at your home, once they expire or once they're out of their life, what do you do with them? You can't recycle them. So government has put the responsibility on the producer. Like if it's a Philips LED, it is their responsibility under extended producer responsibility policy that they will be the one who have to recycle it and not the consumer. In the end, the way forward involves a lot of hard work, especially raising finances. We have to focus on storage technology as well and battery innovation for renewable energy. This is the way forward, and we have to make important changes in consumer behavior as well so that everyone is willing to contribute their bit. This is the last test for you for chapter number 13, this economic survey. First, what is India's target year for achieving net zero carbon emissions? Pretty simple. 2070 is the year. Again, this is not forced upon us. This is something that we have committed by ourselves. Next, what initiative aims to encourage sustainable consumer practices in India? We just discussed about this in detail. It is a life mission introduced by India in 2021 for the entire world. The last one, what percentage reduction in PM 2.5 in PM 10 levels is targeted under NCAP National Clean Air Program by 2028? We just discussed 40% is the target that we are hoping for. All this information is important for your prelims examination point of view. This brings us to the end of the entire economic survey summary. I hope all of you enjoyed it. You took something important from here. I really hope that this will help you in getting better marks in prelims and mains exam. If you are new here, again, do hit the subscribe button and join the Telegram channel to get PDF of all of this. You can share this with your friends as well. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Jai Hind.